Hi guys, welcome to Creeptales. So today's episode name is The Shocking Encounters, episode 4. So you watch all the lastest episodes. Let's go to today's video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for this type of story, and like this video, I started renting an investment property lodge several months in 2023 when my father and I were kicking heads and I expected to move out. The real tenant of the condo was having his very own issues making him leave the loft, and I'll allude to him as my property manager to make it simpler. The lodge was a whole unit rental, and it was paid month, which was great for my briefly crappy circumstance. It was 2 stories, in fact, a little kitchen fair, estimated residing space in one room that you needed to climb a little stairwell to get to, and there was an eccentric trapdoor type entryway that you'd need to open to get to the higher up room. I had proactively been there for a month. I paid for the subsequent month's lease as of now by this point, so I was completely arranged there. The lodge sat toward the finish of a back road with a couple of other correspondingly estimated lodge-type houses. One was empty to the extent that I knew on the grounds that I never saw vehicles left out front or lights on different houses. Well, I never met the neighbors yet. I realized individuals resided in them. I work 12-hour moves in some cases. And when I return home, I'm extremely tired and will hit the hay and stare at the television until I nod off. This was one of those evenings. I returned home, made a peanut butter and jam sandwich and a protein shake as my late night supper, then hit the hay. I generally shut the entryway in the floor. Consistently, I view myself as unagreeable around evening time. Having the entry to your room opens. Something about it causes me to feel uncovered or defenseless. However, this entryway in the floor didn't have a lock. This lodge was made for one individual or a couple. I was staring at the television in bed when I heard it, a voice from down beneath expressing, "Who's up there?" I quickly felt my heart stop briefly as I shot up to an upstanding position and seemed like it came from inside the house. Yet it additionally might have perhaps come from outside. I got the television remote to switch off the television. I crept over to take a gander at the round window over the bed. I didn't see anybody out there yet. It was additionally extremely dim. I expressed "who's there?" and the stunning quietness that followed thereafter driven me to getting off the bed and putting my hand on the handle to the entryway. I lifted the entryway and peered down the flight of stairs. I truly said my father's name, thinking perhaps he came around. There was no reaction. I strolled ground floor. I was incredibly terrified. I flicked on the main light switch. I passed the parlor, illuminated, as I expected, toward the rear of my head. There wasn't anybody down there. I was all the while crediting this to somebody from outside. I turned on the front external light and peered out the windows, and there wasn't anybody in front. By this point, I was truly befuddled. I switched off the lounge light and climbed the steps back to my room, closing the entryway in the floor. I was really conscious now, so I betrayed, and not so much, as after 5 minutes, I heard beats on the room entryway. From underneath, they sounded furious, or like they should startle me. Assuming there was any uncertainty before this affirmed it, somebody was in the house. I left the television on this time and just remained totally unmoving in light of the fact that I was truly excessively frightened to move an inch. The most startling part was whoever was down there could, without much of a stretch, open the entryway as there was no karma. I laid quiet for around 20 minutes, and when I felt agreeable to move, I searched for my telephone. And obviously, of all times, it wasn't on my end table. I was unable to find it. I might have left it first floor. So I opened the entryway of my room and peered down the steps with the continually changing light from the television screen. I could see a tiny bit of clamped down the steps to the lounge room, though I went down the steps discreetly. And when at the base, as opposed to turning on any lights, I ran out the secondary passage, shoeless, and raced to the closest neighbor's home, where I realized individuals resided and I saw their lights were on. I thumped on the entryway a lot of times, and afterward I saw somebody at the window close to the entryway taking a gander at me. I didn't have the foggiest idea how long they had been watching me. I shouted through the glass, making sense of what happened, that I'm his neighbor and that I really want a telephone to call the police. He most certainly heard me, yet he just gazed at me. It was disrupting, and I began to move in an opposite direction from the entryway. As I understood, he wasn't, in any event, answering me, just creepily watching me. I checked out the street and saw no different houses somewhere far off with their lights on quickly. I had an idea, consider the possibility that that person had something to do with it. I returned to my rental through the indirect access, which was shut very much. Like I left it, I headed inside and secured it. Hope you like this series. Mugby, subscribe for part 5.